Blackwood Manor had stood abandoned for decades, its once grand walls now cloaked in ivy and shadow. The townsfolk whispered stories of strange lights flickering in the windows, eerie sounds echoing through the night, and a darkness that seemed to seep from the very stones. No one dared enter, not since the last owner vanished without a trace. When a group of friends, drawn by curiosity and the thrill of the unknown, decide to spend a night inside the manor, they awaken something far older and far more sinister than they could have imagined. The sun was setting behind the hills as Emma, Lucas, Sarah, and Mark pulled up the gravel driveway of Blackwood Manor. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, and a chill ran down Emma's spine as she stared up at the looming silhouette of the house. "It looks even creepier than I imagined," Sarah whispered, clutching her jacket tighter. Lucas grinned. "That's the point. We're here to find out if the stories are true." Mark adjusted his backpack, which was filled with flashlights, cameras, and other gear. "I still don't get why we're doing this. The place has been empty for years, probably just rats and wind." Emma shook her head. "There's something about this place. I can feel it." The front door creaked open with surprising ease, revealing a grand but decaying foyer. Dust motes danced in the fading light, and the air smelled of mildew and forgotten memories. As they stepped inside, the door slammed shut behind them with a thunderous bang. "Okay, that was not the door," Mark muttered, trying the handle. Locked. Sarah's eyes darted nervously around the room. "Maybe we should just leave." Emma took a deep breath. "We came here for a reason. Let's stick together and see what we can find." The friends moved deeper into the manor, their footsteps echoing on the cracked marble floor. Shadows stretched long and twisted, and somewhere in the distance, a faint whisper seemed to call their names. The four friends moved cautiously through the manor's grand hallway, their flashlights piercing the thick darkness. The walls were lined with faded portraits, whose eyes seemed to follow their every step. The air was heavy, thick with dust and something else. Something unspoken. Emma's heart pounded as she glanced at the cracked ceiling and peeling wallpaper. This place hasn't been touched in years. Lucas shone his light down a long corridor. "Let's check the library. If there's anything about the manor's history, it'll be there." They made their way to a large room filled with towering bookshelves, the scent of old paper and leather filling the air. Emma ran her fingers over the spines, pulling out a thick, leather-bound volume titled "The History of Blackwood Manor." As she flipped through the pages, a chill ran down her spine. The book detailed the manor's construction in the late 1800s by the wealthy Blackwood family, who had mysteriously disappeared one by one over the years. The last entry mentioned a tragic fire that had claimed the life of the family's youngest daughter, Annabelle. Suddenly, a cold breeze swept through the room, extinguishing their flashlights. The friends gasped, fumbling to turn them back on. When the lights flickered back, the room looked different. The portraits seemed more vivid, the shadows deeper. "Did you feel that?" Sarah whispered, clutching Emma's arm. A soft, sorrowful melody drifted through the air like a lullaby sung by a child. It seemed to come from the far end of the hallway. "Annabelle," Emma breathed. "It has to be her." Drawn by the haunting song, they followed the sound to a narrow staircase leading down to the basement. The air grew colder with each step, and the walls seemed to close in around them. At the bottom, they found a small room, a nursery frozen in time. A cracked rocking chair swayed gently, and a faded doll lay abandoned on the floor. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind them. "Great," Mark muttered, pounding on the door. "We're trapped." Emma's eyes were fixed on the doll. Its glassy eyes seemed to glint in the dim light, and the lullaby grew louder, filling the room with a chilling presence. "We need to find a way out," she said, voice steady despite the fear creeping in. As they searched the room, the temperature dropped further, and the shadows began to move, twisting, reaching, as if alive. The haunting of Blackwood Manor was just beginning. The door to the nursery remained stubbornly shut, the heavy wood refusing to budge despite Mark's frantic pounding. The air inside the room grew colder still, their breaths visible in the dim light of their flashlights. Emma's gaze never left the cracked rocking chair, which continued its slow, eerie sway. The lullaby had grown louder, filling the room with a haunting melody that seemed to seep into their very bones. "We need to calm down and think," Emma said, trying to steady her voice. "There has to be a way out." Lucas moved toward the window, but it was barred and covered in grime, offering no escape. Sarah's eyes were fixed on the doll lying on the floor, its porcelain face cracked, but somehow still unnervingly lifelike. "Maybe this doll is important," Sarah whispered. "Like a key or something." Emma hesitated, then carefully picked up the doll. The moment her fingers touched it, the lullaby stopped abruptly, and the room fell into an oppressive silence. Suddenly, the doll's eyes flickered with a faint, unnatural light. "Put it down," Mark warned, but Emma was already examining the doll more closely. On the back of its neck was a small, faded inscription, "Annabelle." Emma's heart skipped a beat. This must be her doll, the little girl who died here. As she held the doll, a sudden vision flashed before her eyes. A young girl with pale skin and dark eyes, standing in the nursery, clutching the same doll. The girl looked frightened, her gaze pleading for help. Emma gasped and dropped the doll onto the floor. The vision faded, but the feeling of sorrow lingered. "We need to find out what happened to Annabelle," Emma said. "Maybe that's the key to freeing this place." Lucas nodded. "Let's check the rest of the manor. There has to be something, a diary, a letter, anything." The door creaked open slowly, as if released by an unseen hand. The friends exchanged wary glances, but didn't hesitate to leave the nursery behind. Back upstairs, they explored the manor's dusty rooms, searching for clues. In a forgotten study, Emma found a locked drawer in an old desk. After some effort, she managed to pry it open, revealing a bundle of yellowed letters tied with a faded ribbon. The letters were from Annabelle's mother, written in a trembling hand. They spoke of fear, of a growing darkness in the house, and of desperate attempts to protect her daughter from an unseen evil. One letter stood out. "The shadows are alive. They watch us. I fear for Annabelle's soul. If anything happens to me, please find her and set her free." Emma's hands shook as she read the words aloud. "We have to finish what her mother started." The manor seemed to groan around them, the walls whispering secrets long buried. The haunting was far from over. The weight of the letters pressed heavily on the group as they gathered in the dimly lit study. Emma's voice trembled as she read the final words aloud, the room seeming to grow colder with each sentence. "The shadows are alive. They watch us. I fear for Annabelle's soul. If anything happens to me, please find her and set her free." Lucas rubbed his arms, trying to shake the chill. This place is more than just haunted. It's like something's trapped here, and it's angry. Mark paced the room, shining his flashlight into every corner. "We need to find out what this darkness is. If it's holding Annabelle's spirit, maybe we can break its hold." Sarah nodded. "But how? We don't even know what we're dealing with." Emma looked toward the fireplace, where the ashes seemed to swirl unnaturally. Maybe the manor itself is alive, feeding on fear and sorrow. Suddenly, the room plunged into darkness as the lights flickered and died. The friends gasped, their flashlights the only source of light now. A low, guttural growl echoed through the manor, vibrating through the walls and floor. The temperature dropped sharply, and a shadowy figure materialized near the fireplace, a dark, shifting mass with glowing red eyes. "Get back!" Emma shouted, grabbing Sarah's hand. The shadow lunged forward, and the friends scattered, their flashlights cutting frantic beams through the darkness. Emma stumbled into the hallway, heart pounding. The manor groaned and creaked, as if alive and angry. She heard Mark's voice calling out, "Emma, the basement! We need to regroup there!" Emma ran toward the basement stairs, the shadow's growls echoing behind her. She reached the bottom and found the others already gathered, breathless and shaken. "We can't fight it head on," Lucas said, his voice grim. "We need to find a way to weaken it." Emma held up the letters. Annabelle's mother mentioned a ritual, something to protect her daughter. Maybe it's the key. Sarah shone her flashlight on the walls, revealing faded symbols etched into the stone. Protective wards, barely visible, but still potent. "We need to recreate the ritual," Emma said, "to break the shadow's grip and free Annabelle." Mark nodded. "Then let's get to work." As they prepared the ritual, the manor seemed to pulse with dark energy, the shadows pressing in around them. The haunting of Blackwood Manor was reaching its terrifying climax. The basement was cold and damp, the stone walls closing in as the friends gathered in a tight circle. Emma carefully laid out the items they had found in the manor: a silver locket, a faded ribbon, and a small vial of water from the old well outside. These were the relics mentioned in the letters, part of the ritual to protect Annabelle's spirit. Lucas sprinkled salt in a wide circle around them, the grains sparkling faintly in the flashlight beams. Sarah lit candles made from beeswax, their flames flickering as if struggling against an unseen wind. Emma held the diary of Annabelle's mother, reading aloud the incantation written in the margins, a prayer for protection and release. As her voice echoed through the basement, the air grew thick with tension. Shadows writhed along the walls, twisting and stretching like living things. Suddenly, the dark figure appeared again, more solid this time, its red eyes burning with fury. It let out a deafening roar that shook the very foundation of the manor. "Hold the circle!" Emma shouted, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her throat. The friends tightened their grip on each other's hands, their voices joining Emma's in the ancient chant. The relics glowed faintly, casting a soft light that pushed back the darkness. The shadow writhed and screamed, its form flickering like a dying flame. The manor trembled, dust falling from the ceiling as the battle between light and dark raged on. Then, With a final, anguished howl, the shadow shattered into 1,000 fragments of black smoke, dissolving into the air. The oppressive weight lifted, replaced by a profound silence. Emma opened her eyes to see a soft glow emanating from the rocking chair in the nursery, a gentle light that filled the room with warmth and peace. A small, translucent figure appeared, smiling softly. It was Annabelle, finally free. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice like a breeze. The friends watched as the spirit faded into the light. The manor's darkness finally lifted. The first light of dawn filtered through the cracked windows of Blackwood Manor, casting soft golden rays across the dust-covered floors. The heavy silence that had hung over the house for so long was finally broken, replaced by a calm stillness that felt almost sacred. Emma, Lucas, Sarah, and Mark gathered in the nursery one last time. The rocking chair sat still, the faint glow of the spirit long gone, but the warmth it left behind lingered in the air. Emma took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the night's events settle within her. "We did it. Annabelle's free." Lucas nodded, a tired smile on his face. "The manor feels different now. Lighter." Sarah looked around the room, her eyes softening. "I think the house was holding its breath, waiting for her release." Mark chuckled quietly. "I never believed in ghosts before tonight, but this was real." They made their way back through the manor, the morning sun illuminating the faded grandeur of the once forgotten home. The portraits on the walls seemed less menacing, the shadows less threatening. Outside, the world was waking up. Birds sang in the trees, and the breeze carried the fresh scent of spring. Emma paused at the front door, glancing back one last time. Blackwood Manor has been waiting a long time for this moment. As they stepped into the sunlight, the manor stood silent but peaceful, a place finally at rest. And though the haunting was over, the story of Blackwood Manor would live on, a reminder that even the darkest shadows can be broken by light, courage, and the power of truth.